let's talk about artificial intelligence. And before most of us were born, there was already a good part of literature about science fiction and artificial intelligence. For example, Isaac Asimov has written a book about a robot who can think like a human. And probably you've seen the film. It is I, Robot with Will Smith. And at the same time, Philip Dick wrote a novel, a story about a robot who was thinking he was a human. And this story was the background for Blade Runner. You have seen this film, perhaps, this movie. So the idea of artificial intelligence, that we can create computers that can really think like humans, has been around for a very long time. And I would like to combine it today with two different passions of mine behind science fiction literature. So my second passion I would like to share with you is machine learning. Machine learning is this kind of pattern recognition that makes everything smart, from your smartphone to autonomous cars. And I'm teaching machine learning at the university. I'm doing a lot of machine learning, and from time to time, I even dream machine learning. And this sounds weird, but it even gets worse, because I'm a big fan of the philosophy of Hegel. You know, Georg Friedrich Wilhelm Hegel, the old German philosopher who was famous for his dialectics. And what I would like to show to you is, if you put these three things together, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the philosophy of Hegel, you get a combination that is like gasoline and matches. I think that we will see in the next 5 years something like artificial spirits. With this I mean computer programs that are really able to make operations similar to human thinking, but without the complexity of the human mind. But if we can reach this step, then soon after, perhaps even 2025, we might reach a point where we have an artificial mind. The thing all this science fiction literature is dreaming about, a computer that is able to think and has a consciousness. And then if this would happen shortly after, we probably will have super intelligence, a computer that is superior in all kinds of cognitive tasks compared with any human. Well, I know that at least 90% of AI researchers will strongly disagree with me about this timescale. But let's have a look what AI is, and then I will give it a dialectic turn, because I would like to convince you first that real AI, a computer that thinks like a human, is not possible. And then I will convince you that this was wrong. So this is my plan. AI can be defined as intelligence exhibited by machines. And this was the big program early AI researchers were trying to find from the beginning. Turing was dreaming about AI. Everyone was very excited in the 50s. But what we have today is something else. If you look at the state of the art in AI research, we have mostly machine learning. And Andrew Ng, one of the most important researchers in the field of AI, he has said it like this: almost all of AI's recent progress is through one type in which some input data A is used to quickly generate some response B. And this is, for example, when you think about your smartphone and Siri or the Google Assistants, you can ask any kind of question, and this language is the data A. And then there is a mathematical function you don't have to care about that transfer this input data A into an output, a good answer to your question, that is B. But this output is already known before you are asking your question. So what the computer only can do is to fit with mathematical terms the input A to an already known B. And because of this, John Searle was arguing that artificial intelligence is not possible. And he used a thought experiment to do this. It's the famous Chinese room of Searle. The thought experiment, goes like this. Searle is sitting in a room, and someone is handing in papers with Chinese symbols on the papers. And Searle has a big book with a lot of rules, a kind of algorithm, and he uses these rules to transfer the symbols to other Chinese symbols and hands them out. And from the outside, it might look as if Searle was able to speak perfectly Chinese, because he does exactly what Siri might do on the smartphone. All answers are right, everything makes sense. But Searle, in this room, will never, ever understand a word of Chinese. He has no consciousness about what he's doing. He has no clue what he's doing. And this is a metaphor for what is going on in computers. And as long as we try to teach computers this way to go from A to B with a mathematical function, there is really no way that they can understand what they are doing, and they won't get intelligent, and Siri won't become your best friend. Sad news. But what is wrong about this whole picture is not the definition of what AI is doing in this room, but what thinking is. If you think about what thinking is definitely something else than just having a known A and a known B and try to get from A to B. But if you start to think, you don't know where you end up. You don't know the B. So in Searle's Chinese room, there is really no room for a thought, because everything is given up front. And here comes Hegel in. So imagine the door of the Chinese room opens, Hegel comes in and says, lay aside your book, Searle, I'm going to teach you how to think. Because this was what Hegel was really deeply involved. He said there are rules how we think, and these rules are called logic. Well, the logic of Hegel is very complicated, but I think you can simplify it to 3 simple rules. And I hope there are no philosophers here, because otherwise I get shot for this one. First rule is no, second rule is but, and the third rule is reflection. Or I give it to you in the words of Hegel. It would be omnis determinatio est negatio, which is Latin and means everything that is determined is a negation. The 2 moments of the difference are identity and difference. And finally then, essence is the movement from nothing to nothing and thereby back to itself. Well, I know this doesn't make really sense for you right now, but I will explain it on an example. So if we take the sentence from the beginning, AI is intelligence exhibited by machines, then we can start to negate this sentence, to make it more interesting. AI is not intelligence. Okay, now you could negate it again. AI is intelligence. No, it's not. Yes, no, yes, no. It doesn't lead you anywhere. This is what Hegel called bad infinity. So you have to find another way of negating it. It's the negation of the negation. And we could do this by finding a different word that means the negation of intelligence, something like stupidity. So we would end up with a first sentence like, AI is intelligence and stupidity. And now we have a contradiction. And contradictions are always very fascinating if you want to think about them more. Now comes the second rule. We got some more words left in the sentence. We got artificial and we got exhibited by machines. And these words construct a difference. But there is an identity within this difference, because if you think about words like artificial, exhibited, machines, you come up with an idea of something unnatural, something simulated. Perhaps you come up with the idea that it is about computers. So we might end up with a sentence like, AI is intelligence and stupidity because it is not real intelligence, but fake intelligence simulated in a computer model. And this is more or less the whole idea of Searle, what he was arguing in the Chinese room. But now comes the big surprise. I created a computer model that uses exactly these 3 rules of Hegel to think by itself. And if you take the first sentence as an input, like we did in the example, the sentence, artificial intelligence is intelligence exhibited by machines, the computer will transfer this sentence to AI is intelligence and stupidity because it is a counterfeit of intelligence, which is recreated intelligence in a created model. And this is more or less the same we were thinking about in the example before. And the way the computer gets there is by using machine learning to analyze the syntax of the sentence, so how the words are connected, and something which is called the semantic web. So there is a known connection of words. Something might be a synonym for another word, or something might be a type of another word. And you can use these information to feed them into a computer model. And because it's a computer model, you can now feed in any other kind of sentence. And many sentences make a lot of sense, and the computer is constructing interesting thoughts. Well, of course, many sentences don't make sense right now, but it's a prototype, so what do you want? But we still have the last rule, the reflection. Essence is the movement from nothing to nothing and thereby back to itself. And this is so important here, because the whole point is my computer program has no idea what artificial intelligence is. I'm not claiming this. This would be silly. And it has no idea what a counterfeit of recreated intelligence is. So it starts from nothing and moves back to nothing. But the important thing is that the way how you get from this first nothing to the second nothing, there is a lot of sense in this way. And there is a deeper connection. It's like you are expanding your concept. And this is what thinking is about. Thinking is about expanding your concepts. So of course, the computer still doesn't know what AI is, but he knows how to connect the first part, AI, with a broader concept. And because the result is speech, and the input was speech as well, the computer can now start to think about its own outputs. And this might be very, very important, because then different outputs will lead to totally different ways. And maybe computers will start developing a consciousness on their own based on different starting points. Well, let me add one final word, because there is a lot of fear about artificial intelligence going around. Elon Musk is arguing about superintelligence, and even Stephen Hawking has said superintelligence is very, very dangerous. But if we could really make computers think like humans do, and not in a very, very strange way, which I described in this from A to B style, but really thinking, then I think there is no reason to believe why some entity that is smarter than we are, but thinks on the same level, should act like an asshole. And war and terror is never very clever. So I think if we could reach real artificial intelligence, we're going to see great times. Thank you.